So I'm now starting to put the seals back onto the piece of fresh air vent that goes just in front of the windshield and in between the hood. So I'm using some 3M glue, which I'll show you here in a minute which exact one. But it's going to be going on several of these pieces. These are rubber seals that once it's all dried, it will hold it in place. So it will make the seals just like when it was factory. The way this glue works is you apply it at both contact points and let it set for a minute. Once it gets just a little tacky, like you can see here, it's kind of dried over a little bit. It's still wet, so definitely don't want to put your finger in it because it'll get all over you. But you're just simply going to rest this right back down where it was originally and give it a good squeeze. Help that glue get kind of worked in and seal. So it kind of works a little bit like rubber cement. You can see a little bit squeezed out there on me, but that's fine. So if you feel you got too much, just use a cloth, or if you've got some throwaway sticks to kind of clean that off, or you can even use your screwdriver. Just be sure and get the stuff off your screwdriver fairly quickly, so you don't have to take a razor knife or a sandpaper or something to get it off later after it dries, because this stuff will dry pretty hard. So I'm just making sure these pieces here set right back just like they should. See here, that's lining up with the piece of trim. So at this point I'm going to clean these off so I don't have those bulges sticking out of the glue. So when I put on this longer strip, it doesn't get in the way. Now we have the rubber piece that rests right against the glass is glued back down. Once again, just like the little corner pieces, a little glue goes on the piece of trim and a little glue goes on the actual rubber seal. Let it set for a minute so it can kind of get a little tacky, and then you rest the two together. Now the way I did it was I got the two corners, both here and here, got those two evened out, and found the center by pulling it down tight. You have to be careful not to get the glue everywhere when you do that, but once it's a little tacky, it's not going to slide around on you. It just takes a few moments for it to get tacky. I wouldn't say more than a minute, and then you should be pretty good to start adhering them back together. But once I found the center, I lined it up here with the center here, and then slowly walked each side the direction it needed to go. Now, of course, as I started getting more and more each direction, I had to let one side rest with the glue side up, kind of hanging down in front of the piece of trim, whereas I kept going on the other side and then came back and slowly worked it around. Now once I got it on, I was able to pick up the piece and move it around gently and make sure the seal was on straight, because on the opposite side you will see that there's a ridge right here at the lip where the trim actually kind of lips over. So as it goes down the glass, it'll actually push this piece of rubber down to give it a cushion so that the plastic's not resting directly against the glass of your car. So as you can see, once I got everything in place and I was happy with it, I went back and gently put clothespins on to help hold it until the glue sets up completely. Now I'm going to let this set overnight and put it back on tomorrow before I finally glue the last piece on, which is the hood seal that goes across the top of this piece of trim, as well as all the connectors here and here for the washer jets. Okay, we're about to put the upper seal on. That once we get this all screwed down, it will actually create a seal between the hood and the air dam here. So I'm going to apply a thin coat of this black Weatherstrip adhesive on the air dam itself, and then once again on the strip. And we're going to let that get tacky, just like the glue I used on the bottom side of this panel, and then press it down and let it set overnight. So here we are. I put a light coat across on the seal, and a light coat here on the air dam. So all we got to do is flip it over and set it down on top there and press it firmly to make the two sets of glue set up and bond together. Here we are. The rubber seal is glued down. We'll leave it overnight to let the glue set up good. But wanted to point out something here. You can see there's a little ridge right here. This little piece of plastic that kind of sticks up. You just run this seal, once you get past this section, you can just run this seal right up against that ridge, and that'll get you laid out in that curvy shape that it makes around that piece of trim. That way you make a proper seal against the hood. So a nice little thing they did there to make it easier to line up your seal if you ever have to remove it and put it back down. And here are the spray jets that go on the trim just below the hood. So we've got one that goes right in the middle, as you see right there, this opening right here. We have one more right here. So these little nozzles that hook into the hoses that then hook onto the spray jets on the wipers themselves, as well as in conjunction on the bottom side here, once we have them in place, you will be able to hook those hoses that lead from the washer jug and pump. So what we're going to do is each one of these has a little rubber gasket. We're going to put that on the nozzle, and then it's a simple twist lock design, if you can see there. So you get it in place and then you twist it in place to lock it in. Once you didn't have it in place, you have to twist it 90 degrees. For this job I suggest a pair of pliers like I have here. They have a broad tip, as you see there, so that you can grab low on the base. Once you grab low on that base, that will help keep you from damaging that tip. If you try to do this by just simply grabbing and twisting the tip, you have a high chance of actually snapping off that tip, because it is a thin plastic material. So here's the bottom side after it's been twisted in place. As you can see, there's a pass-by notch right here on this tip, and there's a stop on either side. Stop is here, and then around on this side as well. So be careful not to turn it any more than 90 degrees. Otherwise you can once again break the nozzle. So here we are at the center spray nozzle that will line up right over the center wiper. On American cars this wipes the passenger side. Then over here on the driver's side, once again this is an American left-hand drive car. You got the nozzle here. So when they're in their proper positions, that is how they will be lined up. Quick update on the driver's side washer jet. I initially had put the jet pointing upwards. It actually needs to point towards where the windshield wiper arm will connect. This will allow the hose to bend back around and hook in directly. After you get your nozzles in, you're going to need to add the splitter tube. So pretty much all it is a plastic T with a 90-degree rubber grommet to mount the T to the center jet, and of course a rubber hose on another union here for another 90-degree to hook on the opposite side jet. So from here it will actually hook into a hose here that's coming from the actual pump. So here's the hose that leads down to the washer jug and pump. That's where you're going to hook in the T section that's underneath the air dam right here before the windshield. A few of the things that you need to note is here, this is a drain. It hooks on to the opening that's over towards this corner, you will notice in the trim piece. And it's got a strap to help hold it in place. And here's the drain on the opposite side. So that will help guide down through the two drains, one on each side. This is where the wiper hinge will pass through, and your rubber boot will go here. You see it's got a little bit of a grid to keep anything too big from getting in there, such as an acorn or something and clogging up your drain. And here's the one on the opposite side, once again with the little grill in there to keep things from falling in. So you will hook those on and then strap the strap right here on this tag. There's one of those tags on each side, and that will help hold that boot onto here and direct any water that runs down the windshield out through these pipes. Lift these up. There's one here and one right over there on the other side. So that's these hood seals. You have to kind of lift them up out of the way and then drop them back down. The screws that hold that shield down have these little plastic grommets to help keep from chewing up and breaking the plastic. So you're going to have several of these metal Phillips screws. Like I said, they will pass through these plastic pieces and then down through the hole to actually hold it in. That'll help protect that plastic shield from getting damaged. So like I said, you have those plastic grommets that the screws pass through. They mount on the back side of the plate, and then the screw passes through. As you can see here, you can see the screw, but the plate, the little plastic washer, actually sits back underneath the actual air dam. Is right here. The hole is actually smaller than the rest of the holes, so it doesn't actually have a grommet. And that's the one to the left of center wiper arm. Put these clips right in these center holes. So that will actually hold the front section in place. Just want to keep the trim and the plastic bulkhead together. And there you go. We're putting these rubber grommets back on as part of finishing up all the seals from having the front windshield air dam out. I've already done the other side. Pretty much what you do is you want to have that piece out of the way. You've got a groove on this side, as you can see, and then you've got kind of an L-shaped hook. So what you're going to do is slide that long groove in the bottom through here with that piece up. So you can slide this down, and you have to work that in So you'll have that long rubber tongue in place, and then able to kind of roll that up. Hopefully you saw that. Kind of have to make a roll up and then back down to get caught in the wedge. From there, simply push your seal back down in place there. And we have one more piece of seal that will go across here, and it's a simple saddle style. So here's our seal that goes across this stretch right here to seal this box up. So you simply slide it down right over the top of that ridge, and then there you go. You have a seal. You notice these have like a cutout or a notch right there. That is so that it can get over the plastic trim. So once again, line it up, slide it down, and there you go. You have a seal all the way around these boxes. We have these covers. They have two little tongue clips, one on each side. So you want to make sure you get those lined up right over the hole. You'll typically have one side catch before the other, kind of like here. Just give it a little bit of a firm push, and it should snap right down. There it goes. Many of you have actually pulled these off, but if you haven't ever pulled one of these off, this is a cover. We have one here. I've already got the passenger side on. So these covers go right over the top of all this stuff to keep it protected from, a ton of moisture and stuff getting down on top of this. You can see there's little hooks here and here, and there's a tongue here and here. So those tongues actually go to the outside of the car and wedge in between sections of the frame. Hopefully you can kind of see that. So once those slide in, you're going to notice it leaves the opening for the latch so that the hood can be latched down. And then on the inside, you can see that stud right there. That's where the back hinge catches on. And then right there, that kind of threaded stud there is where the front hinge for this door catches. So you just kind of have to line them up, just like that. And this one here, just like that. And there you go. You notice you've got an ear here and an ear here that help keep it straightened out so it doesn't push down in the back. That's it.